Yes, sir. It's fight night day, UFC fight night. USMAN, Buckley here. Two-man booth on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel with my guy, Dan. No JBC. He's traveling this week, so he'll be back next week, but that's all right. We still we got a two-man booth here. We're going to break this card down. Got a bunch of fights here. It's Saturday, Dan, and that means fight day, and can't argue with fight day, even if it's a fight night card and, not a main, card like we've gotten in past, but still violence to be had, and hopefully we see some violence today. What's going on with you, man?
Yeah, I think it's a solid card, dude. Like, I mean, it's always great when they get out of the apex and hit the road because they actually try with the booking. So, I mean, we do have a lot of lopsided fights here, but you got 3 former champions on this card. You got a lot of fights that I think are going to end inside the distance. So I think it's going to be an exciting night. There's actually some fights with some stakes here. So ready to get into it, man. Love fights on a Saturday. Last week,
never complain when there's fights on a Saturday, because those few Saturdays when we don't get fights, we're all just sitting there. It's like the swing gif where you're just sitting there, you're alone, you're swing. Everyone posts that thing. It's like, yep, that's how I feel when there's no fights going on. So I glad that we have at least something. We got some people in the chat already. Kusher, MN, what's going on, boys? Andy, what's going on? Good afternoon. Yes, it is a good afternoon, and let's get into these fights here, Dan. I mean, anything from last week? I'm trying to think back. Last week's card, I didn't have the
terrible, man.
I didn't have the particularly best card, so that's why I tried to forget about it, I think. But how'd you do?
Oh, it was all right. I mean, like my biggest bet on the night was Spivak, and obviously that didn't work out. It was weird, man. It kind of seemed like Dana went to everyone in the back before the card and was like, listen, I don't want to see any fucking wrestling or grappling. Merab is the only one allowed to wrestle or grapple tonight. The rest of you just need to stand and strike, because it was just baffling. It was like, I mean, Spivak couldn't secure a fucking takedown.
I was watching it like, wow, Waldo just must be way stronger than we all think or something like that, because he could not. I mean, he got him down once or twice, but just couldn't secure it and honestly, have a chance. Because I liked them too. I was with you. I liked them too. Yeah, I think Patchy was definitely that was even more weird than the Spivak fight, because at least the Spivak fight, I knew his biggest advantage was on the ground. So if he couldn't, and I think, Dan, he made a mistake not trying to sell all out for the takedown. He went for a couple, but he didn't sell out for it. In other fights, I've watched him kind of sell out to be like, I'm getting this guy down or I'm getting put out. But no, he was more okay to strike with him at times. The Patchy was weird because we know he had those skills, but he really didn't try to get those skills to use, the grappling skills. He didn't even try really to get it to the ground. He tried 1 or 2 takedowns, if I can remember. Batista kind of stuffed them easily, and that was it. There was nothing else, and he looked terrible. Honestly, he probably looked the worst out of anyone for the hyped. I know O'Malley. I was on O'Malley too at the price and stuff like that, but it's still Merab. At the end of the day. And he kind of did what I was hoping he would do, right? He put himself in danger to try and get back up, and he just got submitted. That's what happens. But the Patchy fight was definitely the worst one, in my opinion, just because, I mean, Mario looked like he should have been a minus 300 favorite, 30 seconds to the fight.
Mario, people forget because they hate him for the Aldo fight, but Batista's a top 5 bantamweight. He's a fucking badass fighter. He's very.
Well, they hate him for how he won the fight.
He won, yeah.
That's how he won.
One real quick. I thought Spivak won rounds 1 and 3, but so I thought that was a bad decision. But just really baffling game plan there. Not selling out for the takedowns and just kind of standing in front of Waldo, and he let Waldo hit him with a couple combinations, just trying to get back with one counter. And he was just getting pieced the fuck up, could not land a takedown.
I remember this one, though, my other best bet, because I did like Spivak with you. I really liked him. And I agree with you. He could have won that decision. I think it was close. You could have gave him 2 of those rounds for sure, though.
Yes.
So I kind of agree with you there. But what was it was like one of the first couple fights had the fight to end via KO. It was one of my like favorite bets. And it was the U fight. Was it the U fight or Yo fight or whatever his name was? Dude had one of the coldest knockout stand.
Yeah.
All and it looked like he just like brushed his chin.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't
he got him. That was
no,
dead
but
on.
I'm saying like when it happened, it looked like he just like touched it, you know, like when it was fast, it looked like it just happened really fast, and he just like hit the perfect spot.
Very
and
clean.
Dude just went out cold.
Dude,
and I was like, oh shit.
He just fell forward, fucking arms out.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
You don't see many guys fall forward like that. You know what I mean? Like totally fall like that way on their face. So yeah, that was a crazy one for sure.
Yeah, last week's card was fun, man. It definitely, like, you know, you looked at it on paper and it was like, what, like, this is okay, but it really, I feel like it over delivered for sure.
I definitely think it over delivered. I think there was a lot of a lot of exciting fights. We'll see what happens with this card. I think this card, even though we have a lot of big favorites, I hope I'm wrong, but I think we see a lot of decisions on this card. That's just my feeling. I could be totally off here, but we'll see. Let's start with the first fight on the card. Like Dan said or alluded to earlier, a lot of big favorites on this card. We start off with the big favorite here, Jamie-Lynn Horth. Horth 9,400. Sitting a massive favorite right now against Vanessa Demopoulos. Demopoulos 6,800. Horth coming off of a loss to Miranda Maverick, and Demopoulos coming off of I think it was the decision loss to Alan Carr, where she just kind of got controlled and the ground pretty much all fight. And, before that, Vanessa Demopoulos was known as someone who was winning, or she's lost her last 2, but before that, like winning close split decisions, Dan. What do you think here against James Horth? Do you think this is a chance where we could sprinkle a little bit on the Demopoulos money line?
You can always sprinkle a little bit of Demopoulos in your lineups, especially at like this plus money. Money line, I guess, is fine too. What is she right now? She's like plus 447. I would honestly probably want a bigger number than that even. She's just, it's just tough. Like Horth is going to be more physically strong. Let me just like preface all this by saying like 9,400 for Jamie-Lynn Horth is pretty insane. Like she's not going to get a finish.
Dan. Say it. It's disgusting.
She wrestles a bit, she grapples a bit, but she's really like, she's very slow and plodding, but she will be the stronger fighter here, I do believe. And Demopoulos' defensive wrestling is like, Demopoulos' game overall is not very good. Her defensive wrestling is easily the worst part of it. She can be taken down, she can be held down, controlled. Like once she gets on her back, she'll throw up some feeble sub attempts, but it's like it's bad for her once it hits the ground. So at 9,400, you can sprinkle Horth in. She'll probably be like low single digits just because this upper range is so incredibly strong with so many fighters that are just like mega juice to finish inside the distance. We've got like Wellmaker, 80% implied, Abdul-Malik, nearly 80% implied, Bolato, both like 60% implied to win inside the distance. So Horth is a really tough spend up here, but you're getting a massive ownership discount. And she does have a path to absolutely smashing with 13 minutes of control and a handful of takedowns, especially with women's MMA scoring. I will say her striking numbers are super low. And I always harp on this.
I'm sorry, that made me laugh. I'm sorry.
I always harp on this with like wrestler grapplers is like there's really high upside there on DraftKings because wrestling and grappling obviously score well, but a lot of these wrestler grapplers who don't throw any striking volume on the ground, their ceilings get really depressed and they let you down a lot. So Yeah, man. Horth.
And I wouldn't categorize Horth as a wrestler either. Like she's not like one of the. Yeah, she can do it. She will do it some, but like you said, she's going to be bigger. She's taller. The reach advantage is a pretty big reach advantage. Like most of the things kind of lean in her favor. Obviously, Demopoulos's defensive grappling is not amazing either. She knows that. I think she's going to have the striking edge as well, Dan. So like all these edges, I feel like just there's nowhere where I'm like, oh, Demopoulos might have her. Like, yeah, maybe Demopoulos could catch her with like a submission or something like that. Maybe if she got in like an advantageous position, maybe that's possible. I just don't think it's going to happen. I guess the inside the distance number is honestly kind of surprising me because I mean, she hasn't got, it's plus 330 right now on DraftKings. I feel like it should be like plus 500, Dan. So I don't know. Is that kind of telling you that they kind of like her a little bit more inside the distance than, at least in my head, I would think for this fight?
Yeah, the Horth inside the distance line has definitely been taking on money over the last few days. And I think, I mean, a lot of it just has to do with Demopoulos has no wrestling defense and is helpless once you get on her back. So like M. Westlake is saying in the chat, Horth inside the distance, ground and pound, I could absolutely see that. And I think if you get like a round of Horth just like wrestling, holding Demopoulos down, and then even if we get into round 2, gets her down again, does some grappling on the ground and pound finish somewhere in round 2, that could be viable on this slate. So, I mean, I'm not going to like Horth is very, very low probability play, but
I will allow this. Demopoulos was manhandled bad by a midget last time. Horth is a giant. I mean, it is kind of true. It is kind of true.
Yeah, like I said before, the size and strength discrepancy is probably going to cause Demopoulos a lot of problems. And you know, sometimes breaking down fights is easy.
I mean, I think from a betting side, like if you want to take a chance on the inside the distance number, or if you want to take a sprinkle on the Demopoulos side, fine. Like I'd probably lean the inside the distance number before Demopoulos, I think. Just because I just really don't see many paths for her. Could totally be wrong. But yeah, so from a DFS side, Dan, that's what we got to just touch on here.
Yeah.
Even if she gets the finish, Dan, right? That does not necessarily mean at 9,400 she is going to be optimal. She still needs either a quick finish or a lot of takedowns and control time and a late finish.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, you've got Wellmaker, Abdul-Malik, Bolato, even Michael Chiesa. They all have way more finishing upside than Horth in this range. It's just Horth is going to nobody's going to play her. And it just feels like the classic first fight of the night, low-level women's MMA, single-digit owned women's big favorite. Like, I'm definitely going to be sprinkling some in. I think she comes in probably like 5%, and I'll probably have like 10. And then on the Demopoulos side, she's probably going to come in around like 10, 12-ish, and I'm going to have less than that, probably like 5.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm probably not going to have any Demopoulos, and if I do have any Horth, it's just going to be a sprinkle, and it's just for an ownership standpoint. But
I mean, yeah, Demopoulos down here, you've got, you know, just above it's like USMAN, Maverick, McGee, Craig, Menifield, Brundage, Smotherman, even Moutinho. Like every person I just listed has a more viable path to like winning and with a good score than Demopoulos does. Because Demopoulos, even when she wins, she hardly scores.
It's a terrible score. Yeah.
And I really doubt she's gonna, if she wins, I doubt she'll be the only dog that wins. So like not only does she have to win, she has to put up a good score, which just I don't see it.
Yeah, I think I'm more in this camp than I am in like getting over on either of these two fighters. So yeah, that's the first fight of the night. Let's get to a more closely lined fight here. We got Losa versus 8,400 versus Phil Rowe, 7,800 on DraftKings. This line's sitting on Losa minus 162 here. Obviously, Phil Rowe is going to be a little taller, reach advantage. Losa is going to have kind of like the shorter, but like, strength, I guess, type of advantage here. Phil's going to want to keep it at space. Dan, Losa is going to try and get in tighter, and that's the battle with this fight, I think. I kind of like Rowe at these odds, plus 136. I think he's a solid dog. My issue with Phil is I think if he wins, he still might not score that great unless he gets a finish. And even in his finishes, there's not as much volume. There's not as much wrestling. So he's not like scoring amazing, even when he gets, like, look at some of these second, third round finishes, and he's putting up 78, 83. I don't know if that gets it done. It might on this card, but it might not.
Yeah, I don't think it will. Like 7,800 is obviously one of the more expensive dogs, and he just lacks upside all around. He doesn't produce a ton of offense, so decision is not going to get you there. And is inside the distance line of like plus 325. It's better than Losa's, but still not very good. There's still higher upside options around him, and
yeah,
I don't think a finish is coming just because Losa, he's obviously not great, but he's durable. He's very hard to get out of it. I actually do have more interest in Losa because he produces a ton of offense. He's not a finisher. He is constantly going to decisions, but he throws a ton of striking volume. He spams takedown attempts, and like he's going to be nearly 30% owned, which is tough for me to get to on this slate because right above him, you've got Barcelos, you've got Ochoa, and then below you've got Garbrandt, who all of them have way more finishing upside. And I would rather chase that, but I'm not trying to sell Losa too hard because I do see the upside. So I'll probably come in slightly under on Losa. Rowe, I'm getting basically almost nothing.
It makes sense because even though I'm probably going to bet Phil Rowe, I think this is going to be a decision. I think it's going to be a close decision, probably even a split decision maybe, because Phil Rowe's probably going to spend a good chunk of this time trying to stuff takedowns. So not as much volume anyways, and then also keeping space and just kind of touching them. And like you said, Anj is the better DFS play because you get takedown upside. You get like he at least could give you 4+ takedowns and and decent amount of control time if he does get him down, which could score okay at 8,400 in the scenario of decision and he wins. So yeah, it makes sense. Losa is probably the better DFS play. I think Phil Rowe at the odds is a better bet because if he does stuff the takedowns and he does keep it at space, I do think he's the slightly better fighter in that scenario. So it just depends on what you see. If you think Losa has success with the wrestling grab, he's probably the way to go. If not, then it's probably Rowe. So that's the way I break it down here. I'm going to be lower on this fight, though, in DFS. I do think it's a decision. And like I said, I have Phil Rowe winning, so I'm obviously not going to be super high on Losa. But these are those fights where I think in DFS and betting, you could go the opposite of. Even if you think Phil Rowe wins, you could go over on Losa to kind of, hedge yourself a little bit, Dan, I guess.
Yeah, I never really think about it in those terms just because, like, the lineups are the lineups and the bets are the bets. And then after the fact, I realized, like, okay, it's when you're sitting next to your friend and they're like, what do you need here? It's like, well, I bet this guy
exactly.
I need the other guy for DFS. But yeah, this fight in general is just like pretty unappealing. It is heavily it's minus 200 to go the distance. Which if it goes the distance and Rowe wins, he ain't going to be optimal. Losa at least has a chance. So yeah, it's Losa for me. Going to be very low on Philip Rowe.
Yeah, I agree. All right, next fight here on the card. Ricky Simone, 8,700 versus Cameron Smotherman, coming off of a really tough loss where he didn't look good against City. Smotherman he's 6,500 on DraftKings. And this line is minus 425 on DK Sportsbook right now. Ricky Simone, the big favorite here. We were talking before we jumped on, and you kind of like Ricky Simone. You think he could get it done inside the distance here. So talk about that a little bit and why you like Ricky.
Yeah, I mean, this is another massive step down for Ricky. We saw what happened in his last fight when he got a massive step down. He just absolutely dusted Javi Basharat. I think we can see something similar here. Smotherman, he's a midweek replacement. So similar to last or maybe 2 weeks ago, we've got a massive value here on the money line. What is he? He is, 8,700? Yeah, he's 8,700, minus 400 to win, minus 115 inside the distance. That's really, really strong. He's going to be about 45% owned, but I think it's warranted. Smotherman is he's very hittable. He can be taken down and controlled. So I think, Simone ground and pound or Simone submission or even just catching him on the feet, like all of that is in play. It's one of those things where it's like levels, this is just Ricky Simone has been fighting the very best of the division for the last, almost decade. And Cam Smotherman has given up 5 takedowns to Sergey City, losing a split decision. I don't think this is going to be competitive. The ownership is obviously.
And I thought he looked terrible in that City fight. Really bad.
Smotherman. Yeah. I mean, for Smotherman actually doesn't rate out horribly because he is actually a bit of a value. He's only 6,500 and I think he's like plus 350 to win. So that's actually a pretty good value on the money line. And in comparison to everybody else around him, but his inside the distance number of 625 is really weak. And I think, kind of similar to what we were talking about with Demopoulos, it's I don't think a win down here is gonna just a win of any kind is gonna be enough to be optimal. So I think Smotherman needs a knockout to win and be in the optimal here. And, Simone is really durable. I think he's recently knocked out by Song Yadong, who is.
I mean, look at these killers he's facing though, from Yadong, Batista, Oliveira, Basharat. These are good high-level fighters that he's losing to a lot of them, right, Dan? When he gets that step up, he's losing to most of them. But it's still a couple decisions. Yeah, he got knocked out by Yadong, but are we really, hurting him for that? Yadong's obviously nasty. So, I think this is just way too big of a step up for someone like Smotherman on short notice here. And I think Ricky does get it done from a DFS side. I think Ricky is a good play because he's got paths no matter if this fight is decision or finish for him to get there and score well, right, Dan? We could either get a boatload of takedowns, some control time, and that'll score well in the decision for Ricky. And if not, maybe it's a ground and pound finish or something like that. And I think that also scores decent or submission that also scores decent at 8,700. So he seems like the clear play. What's the ownership coming in at on him?
Right now, I got him at 45.
I figured he was going to be one of the more popular plays for good reason, though, I think.
Yeah, it seems right to me. And obviously, he can be outscored. This range is really strong that he's in. You've got Buckley, Shahbazyan, Ochoa, Barcelos, Losa. It's definitely not a situation where, I'll probably get around 40%, but it's not one of those misprices where you're I'm going to play 80% of this fucking guy. It's not like that.
But I honestly think in that out of all those guys that you said, maybe outside of Buckley, I'm not sure yet. I think I'll be highest on Ricky Simone out of all those guys you just said. I think I like him the most.
Yeah, let's see what I've got here. I am getting the most Ricky. For sure. He's a really strong play. Strong play. But he can
just for the ranges. I think it's good for, the people always ask who's your favorite in these ranges. So I always like to give at least I think in that range, I think Ricky is probably my favorite.
Yeah, if I end up
doing the 150 first time in MMA, it's gonna be fun. Yeah, well, don't do it like me where you cut out like half the fighters when you play the 150. So don't be too harsh with your ownership. Spread it out a little bit.
Everyone.
If I can give you any advice at all, Dan's probably the better guy to talk to for 150. But if you do have any questions, guys, you can always throw them in the chat. We'll try and get to them as we continue to break these fights down. Let's move to the next fight, though. Popular, I feel like he's always a popular dog. Cody Durand, 7,600 against Jose Ochoa. Ochoa, 8,600 here on DraftKings. And right now sitting the favorite at minus 218. Interesting. I feel like that line's moved a little bit in favor of Ochoa. Maybe I might be wrong, but I feel like it's went his way a little bit. And I do like him here against Cody. I do think that he's the rightful favorite. Cody's a dog who's going to fight for your money, but he will get tired at times. Just his style kind of, he doesn't have that. No, I mean, no one has like the Marab cardio, but I'm just saying like his style kind of gets him tired, and he can lose rounds late. He can get finished, obviously. And, but again, like he also has skills for DFS that we like, right, Dan? He can get takedowns, he can get control time, and he's cheap. So 7,600 Cody Durand. I know you're not a big fan of Cody Durand. What are you doing with him in terms of DFS?
Yeah, I'm usually fading Cody Durand pretty hard. But like you said, he's got wrestling upside here. And Ochoa, his defensive wrestling and grappling look pretty good, but his level of competition has been really low. So for the most part, his defensive wrestling and grappling is a bit of an unknown. So, Durand, there's absolutely worlds where Durand has a clear path to a wrestling and grappling heavy decision win. I don't think he's going to get the finish. His inside the distance line it's like plus 400, which is pretty weak. So obviously you're not playing Durand for his finishing upside. It's all about the wrestling upside. And yeah, I'm usually fading Durand or selling him really hard, but I don't think I'll be doing that today just because we do have the unknowns about Ochoa's defensive wrestling and grappling. On the other side, I also really like Ochoa. He's aggressive. He's violent. He's got really good knees and elbows, the art of 8 limbs. So I think a knockout finish for him is really on the table. We just watched Cody Durand get, I believe, absolutely beat down by Josh Van. And man, back to last week, Josh Van looks fucking great, man. Like I'm super excited about Josh Van. But anyway, Josh Van beat the piss out of him.
I was going to say, do we ding him for that? I don't think we can ding him for that.
I don't ding him
Josh
for
Van's
it.
Really good.
I don't ding him for it, but he took the damage. And, at his age, at this weight class, the damage is starting to accumulate. He's slower. He's less effective. He's not taking damage as well. So I really like Ochoa here. Ochoa's a bit overshadowed by the finishing options around him because, like, who do we have here? Like, I think obviously Simone, Shahbazyan, Barcelos, like they all rate out better than Ochoa does, but you'll get a slight ownership discount on Ochoa. I just think it's a good matchup for him if he can keep the fight standing. I think he's got a really good chance of finding an early finish. So I'm definitely going to be playing a good amount of Ochoa. Definitely won't be going under because he's projected to be like 26%. I'll probably come in around there, maybe a little bit higher.
I think this is a good fight to have both sides of. I agree with you. I'm going to have a good amount of Jose Ochoa too because I have him winning. But I definitely there are fights where I'll fade one fighter and just play one. This isn't one of those fights, I feel like, because Cody Durand is live. If he can get Ochoa on his back, Cody Durand can have success. So I would be careful of just full fading that. But we both like Ochoa here. I'm going to try and get over that 26% if possible. And Joe Goldham says, if you had to lock one and fade one, then who? ? So anyone on the card, lock one, fade one. If you just had to choose, Dan, who are you locking and who are you fading?
Well, I'm probably fading Demopoulos.
I mean, that's like one of the easiest fades on the board, I feel like.
Yeah. Demopoulos feels like the fade. As far as the lock goes, really whoever you like better between Wellmaker and Malik, honestly. Like those are going to be two of my most owned guys. Like once again, similar to last week, a lot of the ownership is kind of condensing in the mid-range, and I'm going to be playing kind of more high-low barbell type lineups.
I'm gonna give you a full fight to fade. I think that the Rose Namajunas Miranda Maverick fight, just strictly from a DFS perspective, is a fight to fade. So both those fighters there, and then I think the person I'm gonna if I had to lock someone, Dan, and I'm not gonna give the main event fight because that's just like obvious. People always lock like main events and stuff like that. Yes. I feel like I think Ricky Simone is the guy. If I had to lock, I think Ricky. I like Ricky the most here. So yeah, there's your answer right there. Who'd you say was your lock? I forget.
I'm between Malik and Wellmaker, and
yeah,
I'd probably go with Malik just because he's 200 cheaper, and
Cody Brundage fights are also really fun.
Yeah.
Like they are really fun.
Every time I see a Cody Brundage fight get announced, I'm like, why is this fucking guy still in the UFC?
Dude,
and then I think back to his most recent fights, and I'm like, oh, because they're stupid and the most fun ever because dumb shit always happens.
The crowd loves it. The crowd's going nuts. I mean, they're going crazy. He's either getting subbed, he's knocking someone out, he's getting not like it's just fun. He's getting knocked out. You have all outs on a Cody Brundage fight. Pretty much. You
need guys like Cody Brundage. You need guys like Johnny Walker. Like you need these guys who die in fun and interesting ways.
Yeah. I will also say though, they also never get respect. So when they win, everyone's like, "Oh my God, Cody Brundage won!" And I will say, I've been on the right side of a lot of Cody Brundage W's recently. So I think the only fight I faded Cody in his last 5 was the Bo Nickel. No, I bet him in that fight. More than I remember. I actually bet him. So I bet him in every single fight he's had his last 5 fights. I bet him in every single one. So
and he's gotten so lucky in all of his wins. He might be the luckiest fighter of all time.
Dude, that last fight just epitomizes Cody Brundage fights. The Marquez fight. Dude, it just perfectly epitomizes Cody Brundage.
Could have been stopped multiple times. Was not stopped.
Don't stop. I'll say it though. These fighters like Cody Brundage, like they will fight till the end. I'll give him that. Like he goes until he can't.
We've seen him quit. We've seen him quit before for sure. But
he didn't quit in that last fight.
He absolutely didn't. I think he didn't
quit in that last fight.
I think he knows his days are numbered in the UFC at least. So
He's got a few wins. I'm just saying, he's got a few wins. He's feeling himself right now, Dan. He's feeling himself a little bit right now. So we'll see.
He's got the DQ win from the elbow to the back of the head. He's got the Zach Reese head slam, which is like one of the funniest knockouts of all time. And then you've got this.
I love that. I love that slam. I still remember Mad Lab texting me crying. Shout out to my guy Mad Lab. Crying because Cody Brundage, I think it was the Cody Brundage fight where he slammed him on the head. We actually had two of those happen, I think, on that fight card.
Yeah, I can't remember who the other one was. Hold on, let's see. Two head slam KOs on the same card. Incredible.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was definitely great. So
that was
Jimmy
a dark
Flick fight day. Cody, we need guys like this.
Yeah, Jimmy Flick fight day. Drakkar Close slammed Joe Selecki on his head. Kind of the same deal. I think was caught in a submission and just last ditch effort, kind of just picked him up, slammed him on his head.
He was a dog too, I think, right? Drakkar? I think he was a dog in that fight.
I believe so. Oh, you know what else is funny? These fights were back to back on the card. So
really?
Not only were they on the same card, they were back to back.
No, that is funny.
I love the sport, man. I love the sport.
All right, let's get to the next fight here. This one should be pretty quick. We got Chris Moutinho coming back to the UFC after a little stint away, where before he lost to Canetti, where I think he was a favorite in that fight and got finished pretty early. And then before that, everyone remembers the O'Malley fight where he just got the shit beat out of him. So now he gets Malcolm Wellmaker. Wellmaker, good fighter, coming off a awesome knockout win against Cameron Saman, where he looked good. Dan, he looked really good. He's kind of one of those fighters that he's patient. I think the fighter opposite him is gonna set up some of his fights to how they play out in a lot of them because of his style. But I think Chris Moutinho is gonna go out there. I think he's gonna try and bring it, which in terms makes me like Malcolm Wellmaker a lot more, even at this inflated price of 9,800, which, I mean, he's a massive favorite. Obviously, I totally get it. 9,800, that's a big boy price tag. And normally, Dan, we hopefully see that out of guys that have wrestling and grappling for like the DFS terms.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to get a ton of wrestling and grappling.
No, I think this one probably plays out entirely on the feet. Like a minus 2,000 favorite is insane. Like I think I'm just gonna bet Moutinho just out of principle because he's like plus 1,000 to win. So I'll throw $50 on that. But like you mentioned, Moutinho, like Wellmaker, he's one of those guys who like isn't super aggressive, and it's sort of a problem in the modern UFC. Is like, I can't believe I'm about to say this. Some of the fighters fight too smart, or they're too cautious, because they're very skilled. It's not like the old days where you're just going out, two fighters going out trying to take each other's heads off. Like they're much more strategic nowadays. They want to play it safe. So you've got guys
they have
like
a game plan.
Yeah,
they have a game plan.
You've got guys like Wellmaker who absolutely should come in and smash and hospital 130 this guy, but he's also going to take his time. So it's a little sketchy. He's got a really narrow path to the optimal. He obviously just needs he's going to need the quick win bonus, I think. Outside of the first,
I think so too.
I mean, first round, maybe he can get multiple knockdowns outside of the first minute, but it definitely has to be the first round. Regardless, though, of how narrow the path really ultimately is, I'm just going to load up here. I'm loading the fuck up. Like you said, Moutinho's going to come out.
The better question, Dan, is how do you rank him in terms of the 9K options?
Wellmaker's my number. Yeah, Wellmaker's my number one, followed closely behind by, let me just actually sort this by price. So I've got Wellmaker, Malik, Bolato, and then Horth, and then C. But that Horth rank.
Wait, you don't have Buckley? Where's Buckley? He's 9K.
Oh, okay, the entire 9K range. Okay, sorry.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess you could leave him out if you wanted to.
I was just looking at this upper like 93 and above, but I mean,
okay, Buckley, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna play a lot of Buckley. Buckley's definitely there. But Wellmaker is my favorite of the high 9Ks, just because, again, like you mentioned, and I think I already reiterated this, but Moutinho, he is aggressive. He's poor defensively. He's very hittable. He can be hurt and knocked out. So what we're really hoping for here is Moutinho comes out, forces the action. Wellmaker puts him down in under a minute. You get your 130 score, and then we're all happy. That's what I'm banking on.
And the under 1.5 just must keep taking money because now it's minus 180. I know it was minus like 160, like maybe yesterday or day before. Whenever I looked at it, and I was like, oh wow, like he's minus 330 to win by KO. Wellmaker is minus 330.
On the Moutinho side, 6,400. He's usable just because he is aggressive and he will come forward. He's been fighting. It's not like he's been out of the UFC for a couple of years now, but it's not like he hasn't been fighting. He's still training at New England Cartel with like Font and Qatar. He's 5-0 on the regional scene, all 5 with finishes. So again, this line is fucking insane, honestly. So I don't mind sprinkling Moutinho in a little bit, although his inside the distance number is like he's like plus 1,600 to win inside the distance, which is absolutely god awful. I'm gonna sprinkle him in. I'm not expecting much, and I'm gonna be slamming Wellmaker for sure.
Yep, Daniel likes Wellmaker to fuck him up. So there you go. I kind of agree. I think he does do that here. So I'll be heavily on Wellmaker with you.
The thing about Wellmaker too is like the downside is pretty immense, but it's the same deal for Malik right below him. And then C 9,500.
You just need him to outscore that range, honestly.
Yeah. You're not getting a huge discount. You're not getting like a massive discount on Malik and C, and C's inside the distance odds are way weaker. He's like minus 160 to win inside the distance, where Wellmaker and Malik are minus 575 and minus 460 respectively. So,
and I think it helps their opponents who they're fighting across from them. You know what I mean? So it kind of makes sense to me why the odds are what they are with those three guys specifically. So,
100%.
All right, let's get to next fight here. Michael Chiesa 9,200 on DraftKings versus Court McGee. McGee 7K coming off a submission victory against Tim Means. Chiesa coming off a win against Griffin where he found a sub, I think in the third round, if I remember correctly. But this fight, Dan, I think it mainly comes down to I think Michael Chiesa has better wrestling and grappling. I think he has the edge there. And can he kind of control the fight that way? Or does this fight play out more on the feet than I think? I think if it does, it might lean more the Court McGee side. But these are two older guys. It just kind of depends on how you see it. Court McGee does have grappling, obviously. But, I think he wants it more to play out on the feet, whereas Chiesa wants to control and wrestle. But 9,200, that's a good chunk for Michael Chiesa here. He's going to need a solid score. What are you doing with Chiesa?
He's projecting to come in around like 20. I might get to that. I might get a little lower. I actually like Court McGee here because, man, my problem with Chiesa is like he's a one-dimensional submission grappler, right? He doesn't offer shit on the feet. His wrestling's not very good. Once he gets you down to the mat, if he doesn't sub you, then he's very open to getting submitted himself. Like he's a submission grappler with terrible submission defense, which is not good. He's fighting Court McGee, who's never been submitted and who has a bunch of submissions on his record. So I don't know. This line feels wrong to me. I picked McGee to win. I picked him to win by decision, but I could see McGee subbing him at any point in this fight, which at a flat 7K would play really well on DraftKings. When I wrote this up, I said McGee is like a very unexciting play, but he can win. And I think he has the advantage on the feet and possibly on the ground. So,
I mean, if you think he has the advantage on the ground, then yeah, definitely. I mean, 12-1 for Court McGee submission is
maybe
and
not
like
the
you said,
advantage.
he's never been submitted.
Yeah, maybe not the advantage on the ground, but yeah, it's like Chiesa, he's not a dominant ground player. Like he can be reversed and submitted himself. And Court McGee, one of those guys who died of a drug overdose, came back to life. We know those guys, Jared Gordon. They're from that mold. These fucking guys.
And I like those type of fighters. And Court McGee is going to fight for my money, your money. So I like it. I like him as a dog. I think 7K. I think he's a good, a cheap dog for your DFS lineups. Because like you said, it's like, I think he does at least have advantages depending on where this fight plays out. So that's always good. And he does have some finishing upside, like you said, even though the odds don't really reflect it. I think he does too. I kind of like the 12-1 submission bet for Court McGee too. That's interesting in my opinion. So I missed this question before. Can Moutinho get a takedown here? I think it's going to be hard for him to get a takedown against Malcolm Wellmaker. Wellmaker, we haven't seen a ton from him, but like with the fighting like massive wrestlers and grapplers, but I think his style, it's going to be tough. He's going to be very patient. He's not going to like rush in, so he's not going to get caught. You know, yeah, I don't think so. Dan, do you think Moutinho could get a takedown here?
I think he could, but it's very unlikely. I think the size and strength kind of gap here is going to make it leans heavily toward the Wellmaker side, and I think it's going to make it tough. Like Moutinho needs. If I'm Moutinho, I want to keep this on the feet. I want to come out guns blazing, try to get an early knockout because I think he knows what he's up against here. That he needs to finish this fight as early as possible.
You're right. I'm changing. I'm going with the McGee side too. This line -300 is just that's wild. I can't.
It's too much.
I can't with -300 Michael Chiesa. So I'm going to be on the Court McGee side from a betting and DFS perspective. I'm probably going to fade Chiesa and just hope that McGee's defensive grappling can keep him out of danger and he can, stuff some takedowns. So it's not just like a crazy, takedown fest for Chiesa and control. So yeah, it sounds like we're both on the McGee side. And I like it. I like that pull here. Let's go to another pretty big line here. Paul Craig and Rodolfo Bolato, -345. This fight was supposed to happen a few weeks ago when someone had a sweet parlay going and screwed because I knew what was going to happen and I knew that I was going to win. And this fight got canceled, Dan. Paul Craig, Bolato. Who was it? Bolato's fault, I think.
Yeah, Bolato had to pull out for herpes.
That's right. That's what it was. I remember his post like, I never thought I was gonna ever pull out of a fight because of herpes or something like that. But herpes happened. Yeah. So 6,900 Paul Craig, 9,300 Rodolfo Bolato. And I'll just say this. I think a lot of people like Rodolfo Bolato here at 9,300. He's had 2 fights so far in the UFC, a decision against Jimmy Crute and Potiera where he finished him in the second round. Like Paul Craig, you could say what you want about Paul Craig. Yes, he's lost a lot of fights, but he's losing to a lot of high-level guys when he's losing. Yes, he can be finished, obviously, but he also does have one edge over the majority of guys, and it's just his grappling. And if this fight ever gets to a point where even Bolato makes the mistake of like getting sucked into his guard somehow, Paul Craig could find a submission for sure. So like from a betting angle, I'm going to go right back to it because I bet it in the other one because I thought it was wide. Like Paul Craig plus 700 via submission. That's just, I think you can bet that. You know what I mean? He can find a submission against really just about anyone with his skills. So, and Bolato, what has he really proven, Dan? Like, he might be really good, but I don't really know based off of those last 2 fights watching if he's like that good yet. And he really should be a -345 favorite or whatever he is. I just think that's a little wide. So I'm going to take Paul Craig here. And I think I'm lower on Bolato in terms of DFS. Just from a 9K ranking, I have him lower than those other guys you were talking about, like Wellmaker and Mansour, guys who I think have better matchups for them to smash their price tag.
I do like the salary savings for Bolato, though, and I think Bolato also has this match. I'm just trying to look up and see what the odds were for this fight in my old workbook from the card this was originally supposed to be on, because I do believe a lot of these numbers have come down in the last few weeks. Like, so my last set of odds that I put in last week had Bolato as like a -400 favorite. Paul Craig inside the distance number was like +430. So that's about the same. Bolato's not quite as big of a favorite because I think people have had a little time to digest. Bolato's really just like he's like a red flag factory, man. Like there's so many things about this guy that I just do not like, and things that concern me, like his cardio, durability, striking defense. All of those are major concerns to me. It's a pretty solid matchup for him though, because he's probably going to look to take the fight to the ground where he can ground and pound and hunt for a submission, which Paul Craig, obviously very crafty on the ground, can
see that's why I like Paul Craig. He shouldn't do that.
Oh, I do too. and he can snatch up a submission for sure, but kind of one of the problems with Paul Craig and the reason Bolato has big passive ceiling on the ground is that he's like super wet. He doesn't really try to defend takedowns. Like he wants to be on his back. He wants to be on the ground.
He's not gonna he's gonna like let him take him down.
He'll just hang out and guard. He'll fucking throw up some subs from his back. And all the while, Bolato is going to be on top, racking control time, landing ground strikes, attempting submissions. So despite all the things I dislike about Bolato, his price is good. His inside the distance number is really good. It's a strong matchup. And, you know, obviously the Craig side, always viable. He's 6,900. His finishing odds, not great, but pretty strong for his price range. And it was like we've said it a million times. Like Paul Craig can submit anyone from his back. So I'm always going to have some Craig. Looks like the field is probably going to be there. Well, no. Craig's only projecting to be around like 15% owned. So I'll probably be somewhere in the 20s, about around, I would guess. I
think that's fair. Yeah.
I think this is a really strong fight to target. It most likely ends inside the distance. I know when this was originally booked, there was a ton of ownership on this fight, and it was a different. It was a different
card. Yeah,
much weaker card. We had less option or fewer options, but
that was like the second fight before the main event too, wasn't it? Like how was that a co-main event? I was thinking about it when I was watching, but I was thinking about it, Dan, when I was watching the card, and I was like, man, there's so many better fights that could have been. Even on that card, main event over the Paul Craig fight. It's just so many. But what are you going to do? I like Paul Craig here. Dan's on the Bolato side. But we both think this fight finishes. And that means should probably get some of it in DFS here. Let's go to another big line here. I mean, Menifield side, 9,500. Menifield, 6,700. Menifield a plus 500 underdog to Sai here, minus 700. It's one of the biggest, obviously there's the few massive favorites on the card, but one of the bigger favorites here. And like you said, I think Sai someone who, even though I could see him getting a finish, I don't know if he has the upside of some of these other 9K guys from a DFS, like, ceiling perspective, but he's an all-around solid fighter, and I could see him getting like a late finish here against Alonzo Menifield.
Yeah, that's the problem though, is I think a finish probably comes later more often than not, and it's like at 9,500 going up against Abdul-Malik and Wellmaker. It's really tough to get there more than those guys, because it's like he does have wrestling and grappling upside, but he doesn't really produce offense on the ground at a rate that will make up for what he's giving up in terms of finishing upside, if that makes sense.
Yeah. He's not going to force like certain things.
Right. He's another one of these guys who like strategic, patient, will not sell out for a finish. So you always have to keep that kind of thing in mind. You are getting an ownership discount with him, but because you're getting a price discount, the ownership discount doesn't really reflect just how much stronger the options above him are. And like, even I think Bolato is even a stronger option than C. Like Bolato, believe he's got slightly better inside the distance number, but like a much better round one number, which gives you a pretty good idea of who's going to be more urgent in finishing the fight. Because, just back to Bolato real quick, like Bolato knows, he has to know on some level that his cardio is shit and that he needs to go for an early finish, or he's possibly dust in the later in the later portions of the fight. C doesn't really have that problem. I think C is like really strong cardio. He can fight a full 15. He's really good on the mat, but I don't think he's going to find the kind of domination down there that he's going to need. If anything, it's kind of like what we talked about with Harrison last week, is like C might just win too efficiently. Like he could get this thing to the ground.
That's my worry too.
Yeah.
Like it's too efficient, because in a way, you're in a lot of these fights, especially with these massive favorites, right? You're either looking for two things. You're either looking for a quick finish where you have a chance of getting that bonus, right? Or at least the first round finishing, points and stuff like that. Or you're looking for like volume in a certain thing, whether it's knockdowns or striking or grappling, takedowns, control time, right? And then they finish them late or, at the very end, So Sai just doesn't feel like, to me, he's hitting either of those categories.
Right. Yeah, in a vacuum, he's a strong target. On another slate, he might be one of the top options, but he's just, he's just overshadowed by all the guys around him. So, it sucks. I would like to play him more than I'm getting to him, but I just can't do it.
Craig might not get the W today, but he's definitely getting herpes. Oh, the way he's fighting, he's totally getting herpes today. That's for sure, Ryan. Yeah, Steve, we did start. I tweeted it out. We did start at 1. Started a little early.
Yeah, baseball slate's at 4, so we needed.
Yeah, we posted it in Discord and I tweeted it out. Sorry. Make sure you follow me at JSU Rab if you don't on Twitter. And if you're not in the Discord and you're a member at Run for Your Sports, I mean, if you're a member and you're not in the Discord, I don't know what you're doing. You should definitely get in the Discord because we alert people every time, if a show's going to be late or if a show's going to, be early, whatever. And we're adding you guys and letting everyone know. So you get those notifications and you can get them right to your phone too with the Discord app here. So if you're not in the Discord, definitely want to get in the Discord here.
It's also in the Discord. It's like last week we talked about the co-main with Harrison and Pena, and we were kind of debating like, do you double shove the 5 rounders? Do you go 100% on both of them?
Yes.
And on the show, I was like, yeah, I think obviously you do that. And then we got off the show and I really started building, and it was just like trying to get this much Kayla Harrison in my lineups is just fucking everything, like it's just not doable. So pop into the Discord, be like, hey guys, I know I said earlier I was going to do this, but change of plans because of this, that, and the other thing. It's like, do our very best to tell you like as close to what I'm doing as possible. But before I start really like getting my hands in the dirt and building and like running through crunches, like sometimes things change. So
it's when you start building, that's the thing. Like sometimes we do these shows and we haven't fully built our teams yet, right? And then we go in, we think one thing, like we think we're going to get a lot of X or whatever because of, and then we're just wrong. You know what I mean? We're like, I didn't get that much of this guy. It was like Caruso yesterday. I don't know if you play NBA Showdown, but me and Rubio were doing the whole show and we were going through everyone and we were, adjusting people up and down on Saber. And I gave Caruso a pretty good projection, at least what I thought. And I bumped him ahead of a few guys in his range. And I was like, I'm assuming we're going to get like a shitload of Caruso. And then we only got like 26%. I was like, what the hell's going on? Yeah. You know what I mean? So I was trying to like figure it out. And then I figured out like the Sims, and so we did like the projected score and it got us more of the Caruso lineups. But, those are stuff like, unless you're playing with your opto or whatever you're using to build, like you're not playing around with it. You're not going to know until you start like messing with it. So that's the best part about the Discord is when there's something that we're like, oh shit, we can't do this because of whatever, we normally will let you guys know. So yeah, make sure you guys get into the Discord if you're a member. If not, you can still use that code JBC 100K win. It gets you a free week as long as you sign up for the month. So you can't be like a current member. You have to be like a new member and use that code JBC 100K win. and gets you a free week as long as you sign up for a monthly package. So check that out.
If you're in the Discord, you'll also get updates on fighters tweeting cryptic shit about their fights possibly being canceled.
Fuck Kevin Holland. I dropped my phone. Blah, blah, blah.
Make sure everything's okay.
He does need someone to run his damn Twitter account because that is terrible right there. Come on, Kevin Holland.
Like
I'll run your Twitter account, Kevin Holland. Seriously, it's not that hard.
I don't get it though. He said it was because he dropped his phone down in the elevator. But then how did he tweet?
No, did you see him say though? Oh, I didn't finish my tweet or whatever he said. Like I forgot to finish my tweet. Like you son of a bitch. You just wanted a bunch of reactions. That's what you wanted. You fucking troll. The next time it happens, dude, the next time it happens, we're all going to be like, fuck this guy, he's bullshitting. And then it's going to actually be like something serious and we're all going to get fucked. I can't wait. But he does look good at 170. All right. Next fight here. I think we're on the Mansour Abdul-Malik fight here. Minus 1,000 on DK Sportsbook right now against Cody Brundage, who is plus 675, Dan. Again, I'm going to preface this by saying I've bet Cody Brundage in his last 5 fights. So I have a Cody Brundage problem, Dan. And I'm going to close my eyes and bet him at plus 675 on this card. Yes, I am just going to close my eyes. I'm going to click the plus 675 button, and I'm going to pray for violence.
Yep.
And that's that on this card. So I am going to play some Cody Brundage because he has this habit of getting finished or finishing someone. So from a DFS perspective, it's like 1 or 100, right, Dan? And it's like, okay, I can play those guys because I know when he wins, a lot of times he does end up optimal, and he's so cheap. He doesn't need to score that big anyways to be optimal on a card like this.
If he wins, he will score big because Cody Brundage is like earlier we were talking about, some of these guys are kind of too strategic and smart and cut. That's not Cody, but no one has ever accused Cody Brundage of being too strategic or too smart.
Bro, even if he does have a strategy, right when he gets in the octagon, he totally blanks out. He totally just forgets everything he's doing. He's like, all right, let's go do this thing. He just totally fucks it up.
It's awesome. You need guys like that. You need guys like that because you need to bring in guys like that to fight guys like Abdul-Malik. Like you need these guys who are going to come and force the action and force Abdul-Malik to just throw bombs back in his direction and knock him the fuck out. Just real quick, we didn't even touch on Alonzo Menifield from the last fight, 6,700. This guy is like a tenured UFC veteran, and he's coming in as like this massive dog to, a solid prospect, but he's largely unproven. Menifield has power in his hands. He can absolutely catch this guy and knock him out. So puncher's chance, knockout or bust, like punt down in the low range. I'm probably going to get to like 15% Menifield.
It's kind of why I don't like Sai too. I think he's going to respect Alonzo's power a little bit, and he's going to be very strategic about, getting inside and maybe using the takedowns and grappling, take his time, right, Dan? So these other dogs like Cody Brundage, Paul Craig, and the favorites that they're fighting. Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen, right? I think we're going to get action. You know what I mean? Everyone's like the Paul Craig fight where it was boring, like the bone, like that's not what we're going to get action most of the fight.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, just real quick. I think Menifield is definitely live. And I think the way he fights will probably depress Steve's offensive production as well. As long as Menifield doesn't run headfirst into a guillotine, it should be somewhat competitive in the beginning, at least. But back to Malik and Brundage. I mean, straight up, like someone's gonna die, dude. Someone's gonna die, and I want to be on both sides of this. Like, it's really that simple. Abdul-Malik's inside the distance line, nearly minus 500. He's got a minus 105 round one number, which are, excellent. And you already touched on it. Brundage, he's just going to go out there. He's going to wing some bombs. He might catch Malik. He will probably be the one to get caught. Someone's going to die violently, and the other guy's going to score a whole shitload of points. And that's pretty much it.
I like a shitload of points.
I
like a shitload of points. Yeah, so there's the Brundage fight here. Has Brundage been to he's had to have been to like a decision, right? Yeah, he's been to a couple of decisions. Okay. I was going to say, just like looking through his career, I was like, has he been to a few decisions? He was in a decision against Dumas somehow. I mean, this is the type of fighter Cody Brundage is, though. Like, it's just like you lose to Cedricus Dumas, and then he's massive dogs against some of these like shittier fighters, and then he wins, and then, no contest. The Bo Nickel fight where he submitted.
His only fight to go to decision in the last like 3 years, and it's just because Cedricus Dumas is a fucking trash bag.
Yeah, he's so bad.
He's terrible.
Such a shit. He's so bad.
They need to cut him so I can stop betting him.
I thought they did. Didn't they cut him? I hope they did. That dude's not a good person. Fuck that guy. That guy is not a good person.
Not that that's a requirement, but he's like an especially bad person.
No, he's like an especially shitty person, though. I get it. Like, you're a fighter, whatever. But he's definitely a shitty person. So screw that guy. I bet against him until he gets cut. I thought he got cut, though. I'm hoping he got cut. All right. So, Dan, we're both on this fight here. We're both going to be invested in it for DFS. We kind of already talked about kind of that 9K range. Mansur's definitely up there because, he also has the wrestling upside too, which he's not going to force it against Cody Brundage. So, again, he's not like one of those wrestlers where you're thinking like, shoot, you know what I mean? No, he's going to like wait for you to make a mistake. And then he's like an advantageous wrestler, right? Where he'll capitalize and counter wrestle you as opposed to like a true, just like, I'm going to just shoot and try and get you down to the ground type wrestler.
So he's got
some down,
He does have some wrestling upside, but it's really, he needs an early finish. Like he doesn't wrestle enough.
I don't know, because like he might get a shitload of like ground and pound. Like if he does get him down, he could get like a massive like ground and pound, or just like a knockdown, and then maybe Cody Brundage like is still with it somehow, and like they get down on the ground and he's just like beating the crap out of him, something like that. So
then Malik elbows him in the back of the head. We get a no contest.
Oh no! Don't even say that, Dan. Don't even fucking say no contest. I don't want to hear it. All right, next fight here on the card.
DQ win. A DQ win for Cody.
By the way, got to shout out my guy, Jerome Brown here. What's up? I appreciate the love, man. If you guys like the content too, if you're not a member, you can still support us. Hit the like button on the video. That's cool too. We appreciate the like button being hit on the old YouTube video. So hit that like button, and you can subscribe to the channel as well. If you're not subscribed and you do become subscribed to the channel, you get notifications when we go live. So if we go live early, like we did today, you'll get notified. So make sure you are subscribed to the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel as well as hitting that like button. Let's go to the next fight here. Cody Garbrandt sitting a plus 210 underdog right now. Is that right? Did I just read that right? Against Hani Barcelos, minus 258 on DraftKings Sportsbook right now?
Yep. Yeah.
Am I taking crazy pills, Dan?
The line has steadily been moving towards Barcelos, which I wouldn't have expected. But the more I looked into it, it sort of makes sense. I mean, a lot of it is probably a bit of an overreaction to Barcelos beating up on Peyton Talbot and just wrestling, grapple fucking him.
He wrestle fucked the shit out of him.
I was heavy on Talbot. I thought Talbot was going to be too strong, too fast. But I actually have my buddy who's like actually friends with Marab and like has trained over there with those guys. I was talking to him before that fight and I was like, nah, man. I was like, I think Talbot's going to wrestle him. And he was just on my line. He's like, nah, man. He's like, Ronnie's a dog. He's going to fucking waste this young kid. And he was absolutely right.
You guys hear that Dan flex real quick? Oh, my buddy actually, he trains with Marab. Just throwing that out there real quick. Little flex from Dan.
I got another little flex. This one's not as good, but when we were talking about Moutinho earlier, one of my tattooers actually went on a date with Chris Moutinho, like right when he was breaking into the UFC, and she said that he was like a huge dick and like super full of himself. That he had like made it into the UFC and like thought he was hot shit, and then he proceeded to just kind of wash out of there.
I would not have like guessed that.
Yeah,
from someone who got massively humbled in the UFC.
Well, this was before he got massively humbled. So
okay. Maybe it's a little different now, Dan. Maybe it's a little different now.
When he first like broke into the UFC, she was like, "Yeah, I went on a date with this guy. Said he was a UFC fighter." I was like, "Wait, really?" And did a little research, and we figured out it was Chris Moutinho.
Yeah,
that's pretty.
Yeah,
funny.
I'll never forget that either. I'll never forget that fight either.
O'Malley victim.
So the chat kind of likes I see Cody getting rear naked choked by Barcelos. I just looked up the submission prop plus 400 for Hani, even though I think the line is just silly at minus 258. The submission number is not bad because you can get Cody on the ground if you get him down there. You can get him with the grappling and stuff like that. So
that's the thesis of the play. I mean,
I think it's a clear like bet I think it's a clear like if you want to bet this fight and not like an inside the distance number, you bet the dog at plus 210. But like from a DFS side, I think Garbrandt is a terrible DFS play because I don't think he's gonna finish Hani. I think if he wins this fight, it's by decision. And I think he's just going to use his footwork. He's going to move around the cage, touch, try to not get into the grappling and wrestling exchanges with Hani. And that would mean he's probably winning like a boring decision against Hani Barcelos. So I think Barcelos has the massive score upside because of the volume in takedowns. So I think he is the better DFS play. And Garbrandt's probably the better bet just at the odds, like minus 258. I'm not betting Hani at minus 258. If you want to bet the sub prop, I'm cool with that. But that's the way I look at this fight. And I feel like it's kind of cut and dry. I could be totally off here. Maybe Hani gets, chinned by Cody, but I don't think it happens. I think he's tough enough to kind of, either survive or wrestle Cody, if he's winning.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. I don't really have a whole lot to add, really. It's just if Garbrandt doesn't catch him early on, he's probably getting taken down, controlled, possibly submitted. Barcelos just has so many more paths to a ceiling score because, he's definitely going to be slower on the feet. He's not as quick of a striker at all. And obviously, he's older, slowing down, but he throws every shot with like fight-ending intention. And Garbrandt has definitely had problems with his chin in the past. He seems to be taking shots a little bit better now, but I mean, when you've seen a guy hurt and knocked out that many times, it's like that's a thing that happens to you, dude. So
a club and sub is on the table, Dan. I think.
What's that?
Like a club and sub? I definitely think that's on the table for Hani. So. Definitely. Yeah, Barcelos sub at plus 500. It's plus 400 on DK. Hashtag DK partner, but plus 500 is very, very nice. I think if you're getting those better odds, I would take it here. So yeah, that's the fight. I think we both agree Barcelos is the better DFS play. Cody Garbrandt, I'm probably going to fade in DFS. I'm just going to hope he doesn't knock Hani out. And if he doesn't, I feel pretty confident he's not on the winner.
Yeah, I'll be playing some Garbrandt, but it's really, he's completely knockout or bust. If he doesn't get a knockout, then he's definitely not producing enough offense to score well in a decision. Opinion on Garbrandt's face tattoo? What is it? It's like the dagger. I think it's pretty badass. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of like the
I would never get a face tattoo myself, but I do think that it's badass.
So. I'm a big fan of the face tats. I probably get there myself someday. Let me see if I can find a picture. I don't see any in this picture, but I'm pretty sure you're talking about the dagger on the side of the face. I like that. I'm a fan.
All right, there we go. Dan's a fan of the tattoo. Let's move to 3 more fights left on the card. Next fight on the card, Edmund Shahbazyan, 8,800 for Shahbazyan versus Andre Petroski, 7,400. You like how I'll put that little Petroski in there, Dan? You see that little accent I got going for you just for Petroski? I worked on that, okay? I worked on that. Yeah, I was feeling it too. So 7,400 for Petroski. You know, Petrovski's a guy like you see a lot of decisions. It's kind of like when he's winning fights, Dan, it makes sense because he kind of is a boring fighter when he's winning fights. It's a lot of wrestle, control, not as much advancing positions, trying to finish fights too, which, you know, he's more focused on control over like trying to finish the fighters. But that's the way I think he wins this fight, honestly, is, you know, wrestling a guy who struggled in the wrestling and grappling in his career. And even though he's gotten better, Edmund Shahbazyan's still shown that even though he has power and his skills on the feet are better than a lot of the guys he's fighting. Like, I think the skill gap between him and Andre Petroski on the feet is a pretty big gap. But I also think it's a similar gap on the ground if Petroski gets him on the ground, because it's not like Mearshart. Like Mearshart, the finishing gap on the ground was massive for Mearshart. Like if he got him down at any point, that's not Petroski. But Petroski's control, you know, if he gets one takedown in a round, Dan, that could be it for Shahbazyan until the next round. And you kind of see that in a lot of his fights. So I think this fight either ends Shahbazyan by knockout or Petroski getting takedowns and dude's like a wet blanket on him for all 3 rounds, and it's a boring decision win for Petroski. So I think Petroski can get the takedown, so I think it might be a boring decision. But if not, I do think he gets knocked out. So it just kind of depends on how you see this fight going. Shahbazyan's last fight finished Dylan Butka. But the problem with Dylan Butka was he had some grappling. He doesn't have the takedowns, though. And we've said this over and over with Dylan Butka. You still have to have the takedowns to get it to the ground. That's why I like Shahbazyan to finish Butka in that fight. I knew Butka didn't have the takedowns. I think Petroski does. So that's why I'm leaning the Petroski side and the dog. Where are you at with this fight?
Yeah, I think it's going to be either Edmund early or Petroski late. Like we kind of know the story with Edmund Shahbazyan at this point. Like he's going to come out for 7 minutes, try to end you. And if he can't end you in the first 7 minutes, he's going to death gas and die. So I obviously like Shahbazyan for his early finishing upside. Like we've talked about a bunch for this card. Like he's hopefully he's one of these guys who doesn't try to be too strategic or patient because he knows he just doesn't have time. Like hopefully he knows himself well enough to be like, I need to get an early finish or I'm going to die and give this fight up at the end. But it also, so I'm obviously interested in him for early finishing upside. 8,800 is a great price for his like finishing numbers. Petroski on the other side, it's like plus 370 to win inside the distance, which isn't great, but it's decent for his price range. And like just the dynamic of how Shahbazyan fights and gasses. Yeah, Petroski is also a gasser, so totally noted. But I think it's a little more extreme with Shahbazyan, and it opens the door to me, in my mind, for Petroski to get a finish here and actually score like decently well for a change. These scores are just disgusting in decision wins, like a 53, 82 against Dylan Butka. Like Petroski is another one of these guys, wrestler grappler, who has the wrestling and grappling upside, but doesn't throw enough strikes on the ground, which like really depresses him and his scoring upside. So usually not a fan of Petroski, but I think it's a decent matchup considering Edmund's like deficiencies in cardio. And Edmund, I'm always just targeting because he always goes for the early finish.
All right, there we go. Did you bet a side on this fight, or are you just from a DFS side?
I haven't yet, but I would probably just bet. Inside the distance number is not that great. I would probably just.
I wonder what is Shahbazyan by knockout or Petroski by decision. Minus, let's see.
Petroski by decision is plus 330. Shahbazyan by knockout is plus 130.
Yeah, no, I was looking at the combo. It's minus 200. Gotcha. I was thinking we get like a plus 130 or something, plus 120 on something like that. But no, it's bigger than that. So, all right, there we go. I'm on the Petroski side from a betting standpoint, but good fight to target. I do agree with Dan that I think the winner could score pretty well. So, go with who you think is going to get the job done because it could be a good DFS score. Let's go to the next fight here, which I do not think we will have a good DFS score. Rose Namajunas minus 238 versus Miranda Maverick plus 195. And Dan, I'll just say it. Miranda Maverick, every time she's moved up in competition, she loses. It's big favorite. Doesn't matter. Look at who she's fought. And on top of look at who she's fought, Dan, and even the wins, right? They're not like dominant. It's not like she's, just crushing these bad fighters, right? Like she got one finish and then 3 straight decisions against Horth, Barbosa, and Late. Like that's not good. That's not good. Now she gets a massive step up in Rose, who, is just, I think, better than her. And she's been fighting in 5-round fights. Her last, how many fights here. And even though, she lost against Blanchfield, but that's all right. That's Erin Blanchfield. And, she was in it, right? And this is a 3-round fight. I do think it just helps Rose out even more. And we saw in that Cortez fight, like Rose counter wrestled Tracy Cortez. I don't think Miranda Maverick's like wrestling is even that good. Jasmine showed that she wasn't even close to her level when it came to the wrestling. And I know everyone's like, well, duh, Jasmine. Yeah, she's better. At the time, that Jasmine was the plus 2 something dog. And no one thought she was better. Everyone thought Miranda Maverick was better. Well, I don't want to say everyone because someone on this show told you she wasn't. But most people did. And that's why it was so that's why it was so wide. I think Rose is going to come in, and I think it could look like the Tracy Cortez fight a little bit. She's got the advantage on the feet, and I think she can counter wrestle Miranda herself. I just think overall she's the much better fighter, Dan. So I see her winning a decision, and I don't think it scores well because it's a 3-round fight, not a 5-rounder, which Rose has been doing in a bunch of 5-round fights. And even the decisions, like I said, they're 5-round decisions, not 3.
Yeah, initially, like when I was kind of diving into this fight at first, I was like, "Oh, I'm on Rose." By the way, I mean the line, like Maverick is taking on some money, which I just really don't understand. This feels like another levels fight. It's like you mentioned before. Every time Maverick faces a step up in competition, she gets smacked right back down. And when she does win, it's really it's not impressive. There's I can't remember the last time. Probably the last time I saw Miranda Maverick fight where I was like, oh, she looks really good was when she beat the piss out of Priscilla Cachoeira. And that's like not that hard to do. So yeah, the fact that this isn't a 5-round fight though, because I'm looking at these scores, I was like, oh, when she gets the wrestling going, it's pretty good. Oh, 5 rounds. And this one's a 3rd rounder. So usually I would like kind of advocate and say Namajunas, her wrestling is pretty underrated. And I think she uses it more than people think. So if Maverick is going to try to initiate these wrestling and grappling exchanges, Maverick's not a very good wrestler. Like she can go in for an attempt and get taken down herself. Even if she gets the fight to the mat, like Rose is very crafty down there and she can reverse her. I think she can even submit her down there. So like, while the most likely outcome for this is a boring decision win for Rose at what? I think she's going to come in around 10% probably. Like this is one of those situations where
what's the ownership on Miranda?
Dude, Miranda, yeah, she's gonna be around like 20.
Okay, I thought she was going to get some ownership. That's decent ownership, honestly. For her.
I just don't have much interest. It's like even when she wins, like we said before, she's not scoring very well. I don't think she's going to be able to.
And how is she winning? Do we think that she's on? Do we honestly think she's just going to control Rose Namajunas for 7-8 minutes?
Absolutely not. I mean, maybe she's got multiple takedown upside because Rose is going to keep getting up. So in that sense, I can see an upside case for Maverick, and maybe I'm just being a little biased.
What fight have we seen her like chain wrestle either, where she's just spamming like that's not what she does even. Like she relies on control. I don't think she's gonna get it. And her striking, we shit on her wrestling. She's kind of known for that. Her striking is worse.
Yeah, much worse. So, much worse.
I don't get it. I mean, I'm gonna have Rose like minus 160 by decision. Like in my, I normally do like 3 UFC parlays every week, but there's one that I put like the most money on. It's like my bigger one, right? And I think Rose by decision is definitely one of my favorite targets here. Like you said, maybe she could find a sub, maybe, but maybe a KO, but like the likelihood is decision, and I just don't see Miranda winning. So I could be totally off, and Miranda comes out, looks amazing, but I have to see that because even in the fights she's winning against these girls, she doesn't look amazing to me. And now she's fighting Rose, who's fought a ton of really good fighters.
Yeah, and now that I'm looking at it too, it's like the unfortunate thing is like I would really have to kind of put my thumb on the scale to get more Rose here. I'm not going to try that hard to force her in there. I'm getting a pretty good amount of Maverick, and that's definitely just because of price. And she does have some wrestling upside, but I don't know. This is going to be a tough test for me because I try really hard to like trust the numbers and sort of go with that. And your
numbers lean heavily on ownership too. So Rose coming in low owned. She's does have
I'm still getting none, which to me
is
like
have takedown upside. She does.
Rose,
it's just it's not a 5-round fight.
And it's a really tough price.
If it was a 5-round fight, I'd be playing Rose.
Like, look at who's around Rose. It's Bolato, BUCKLEY, Shahbazyan, Simone, Ochoa, and those last 4 names are all priced below her. So 9,100 for what she typically produces in a 5-round fight, really, really hard to get to, which she's, I have her projected at 10% ownership. She might come in even lower than that. It won't be hard to get over. I'll probably try to get to like 8 to 10% of her and probably be like double the field.
Yeah, I already said earlier I was fading this fight, so this is the fight I'm going to be the lowest on by far because I'm not going to have either of them. But I do like Rose to win a decision here, and we'll probably parlay that with 1 or 2 other things, get something going. So I like that. Stacks, what's going on, brother? Welcome. What's up with you? Let's see. Same. I've been trying to convince myself to play Miranda, but can't. Yeah, it's just it's tough, man. It's really tough to click that button on Miranda from at least what I've watched.
She might be a really good play though, because we're sitting here and it's like the line is moving towards her. She projects well. Her ownership is lower than it generally is. She's much cheaper than she usually is. It's like this. I started to get I'm like, this is a spot where I like, again, put my thumb on the scale and I'm like 25% Miranda Maverick. Fuck that. I drop her down to like 10 or something. And then she comes out and makes me look like an asshole. So it's an interesting spot.
Well, I got a question. The last like 5 people that Rose has fought, is Miranda beating any of them?
No, absolutely not. no shot. No shot. Really...
Literally, like no shot. So yeah, I can't. I'm gonna have to see it. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna have to see it. Like,
yeah, this will probably be like, that I really heavily factor in late line movement, especially, and this is just probably gonna be one of those really rare instances where I say, nope, that's just fucking wrong. Fuck that.
Sometimes you got to go with your gut a little, Dan. So I'm all for the old gut. Just trust the gut and go with it sometimes. So I like that move. Yep, gut check. Let's go to the main event here. We got Joaquin Buckley, 9K for Buckley versus Kamaru Usman, 7,200. I saw someone earlier saying Saber, the Sims were giving him a ton of Usman. I forget who said it up in the comment section, but it kind of makes sense, right, Dan? From like a leverage, five rounds, right? Main event, upside, cheap dog. We've got a lot of big favorites on this card, right, too, Dan? So like a lot of other dogs with, lower inside the distance or higher inside the distance numbers, right? So it kind of makes sense to why like the Sims might be giving you a little more Kamaru. What do you think of Usman as a DFS play against Buckley?
So yeah, the Sims going in on Usman doesn't surprise me at all. So, and I assume if you're using Saber Sim that you're also using their projections. And if you just look at their medium projections, like Kamaru Usman's projecting for 63, which is nearly 20 points better at least than everyone around him. So, the thing with Sims,
that is why you're getting a ton of Usman. So if you want to fix that, change it.
Yeah, and the easiest way to do that is just manually cap it. Is the best way I've found in Saber Sim. I've been doing some stuff in Saber with baseball where I've been like using sort of like their aggregate metrics, etc. So you can really get into the weeds with that shit. But honestly, the simplest thing to do is to just cap it. Because the Sim, like, I feel like it's always important to kind of like remind people, like, the Sim doesn't know anything. The Sim doesn't, like, people will be like, the Sim gave me this, the Sim did that, or thinks this. Like, the Sim doesn't think shit. You put the numbers in, and then it just does whatever it does. So it's highly, highly, highly dependent on the numbers, which is very obvious. But all that is to say, if Usman, I suspect Usman is completely shot to bits and washed. But if he isn't, then this is an insanely good price on him, and this line is far too wide. Because as much as I love Buckley and as fun as Buckley is, like, his little journey to a welterweight title shot here is just littered with broken old men. He's just beating up on these old guys, and again, he's fun, he's great, but like, man. If Usman isn't completely washed and shot, he's going to have a really fucking hard time dealing with like Usman's wrestling and grappling, and even Usman on the feet. Like the guy cracks, and Buckley can be hurt and finished. So
Ruzaboyev turned Buckley into a wrestler really fast.
Yeah,
don't forget that.
That's also the other thing is like Buckley without a finish here, like him being in a 5-round fight, I don't think really helps him all that much as far as scoring potential goes. Like, you're still going to need an early knockout because Buckley doesn't really throw volume. And if it weren't for the fact, like, he scored well in that Wonderboy Thompson fight, but I think he also landed like 4 or 5 takedowns. He ain't landed no 4 or 5 takedowns on fucking Kamaru Usman. Again, unless Usman is completely shot to bits. So it's really the question you have to ask yourself here when you're trying to figure out how to approach this is like, is Buckley coming into this like massively overvalued because of his recent run beating up on old guys? And is Usman being like super undervalued because his knees are potentially dust and we haven't seen him in 2 years? Like, I think that could potentially be true. So yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards a split in this main event.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, don't forget Usman, he went to a decision with Chimaev. Like, this dude is tough. Like, Chimaev is a killer. It
was like a short notice, like shuffling. So yeah,
yep.
I mean,
yeah. And he won that 3rd round. Like, he won that 3rd round. Even though he's older, his knees are definitely going or gone, kind of. He's still just like a tough dude. And Buckley in this fight had the advantage of, like, in his last couple fights, like, okay, I can rely on like other things. If something doesn't work out, I can go to like the wrestling and stuff like that. Like you said, I don't think he can rely on that against Kamaru Usman, even with bad knees. You saw like Chimaev and what he was doing and stuff, and it's like, Buckley's big and strong, but Kamara is super skilled in the wrestling and grappling, and he knows what to do. So I think this is going to be one of those fights, Dan, where we watch it. Everyone's on the Buckley side. It watches closer, way closer than what this line says. And I think Buckley fights like he has way more respect for Kamara than these other guys that he's fought. Colby, Thompson, Ruzaboy. Like, I think he fights with more respect. He gives Kamara more respect. So we see less like crashes, you know what I mean? Where like he has chances to finish here. And that doesn't mean he can't get the finish, right? Because you can definitely, we've already seen Kamara get caught. You know what I mean? Like, definitely catch him. And Buckley has that type of power. I'm just saying, I don't think he's going to go out there and try and run through Kamara because I don't think that'll work.
No, I don't think so either. I think this is going to be a much closer fight than the line entails. And you keep looking at Usman at 7,200. It's like, I know we said earlier, probably more than one dog wins and scores well, but with Usman in a 5-round fight, even if he loses, if Buckley knocks him out in the 4th or 5th round, like it's possible that Usman could even outscore him. Because like, what if Usman is having success early in the wrestling? Buckley's not putting up any offense. Then Buckley catches him late in the fight. You could still end up with Usman outscoring Buckley and ended up in the winner. It's not something I ever count on, but it's like sometimes you have to like tell yourself a bit of you have to like convince yourself to play some of these like shitters down here. And if it helps you.
How would Usman win? Just in theory, how would he win?
Just tons of takedowns, lots of wrestling.
Yeah.
Lots of wrestling.
Which would score great. Which would score great. So he's
like,
not one of those dogs like you worry about if he wins still scoring poorly. No, like he's a dog that if he wins, I think he scores pretty well. So, and he gets 5 rounds to do it. So, yeah, I think he's a good target as a dog in DFS. And I do think you can bet on him. Even if you like Buckley, plus 200 odds seems at least wide for Kamara here. So he's got at least a path. But yeah, chat likes Buck KO. I could see it. I could definitely. Absolutely. Buck's got that power, and he's definitely got the ability to do it.
This is one of those fights that, like, the outcome is going to seem obvious after it happens. Yeah. You're going to be like, oh, of course, Usman fuck Buckley for 5 rounds. You're like, of course, Usman got knocked the fuck out by Buck. It's going to seem obvious after the fact, for sure.
All right, Dan, that's all the fights here. Do you have like a favorite bet for the people or something that you love here? Prop? Anything?
Something that I love. Let's see. What was that? What was the Court McGee sub number? I like that. That was
12 to 1.
12 to 1, Court McGee sub. Fucking fire it up, man. Let's go.
Fire it up, 12 to 1. I'm going to go. So I'm going to get. So I do like the Rose decision just as like but that's minus 160. I do think that Andre Petroski at plus 124, I do think he wins a boring decision. So I do like him as a dog. I think my fun prop, since Dan gave a good old fun prop, I want to give I don't want to be left out. So I want to give a fun prop too. And I'll say it's the Paul Craig submission, just because I was on it last time and then the fight didn't happen. So I can't not bet it again, Dan. I'm going to parlay it with something just so I don't feel left out.
We got to parlay the 2 sub props.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you know what I do, Dan? I always do like a sub parlay where I'll pick like 4 guys with long shots and I'll like round robin them with sub parlays or something like that. So I'm definitely going to do that, but I'll do it just for the show. We'll throw like I'll put like $50 on it or something like that. What's Court McGee? Let's see here. What's Court McGee at 12 to 1? And then Paul Craig at 7 to 1. I think those fights are back to back too, right, Dan? Yeah, they're back to back. That's yes, I'm doing it. That's over 100 to 1, Dan. I'm in.
Oh, let's go. All right, I'm in on that.
I'm in.
I'm in on that too.
Let's do it.
That's worth a sprinkle for sure.
That's worth the sprinkle. Even $5, $10, whatever you put on it. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But that's worth a little fun sprinkle right there.
Yeah, let's have a good time.
Oh, and I forgot I have this like no sweat bet too. All right, done. Put it on it. That's the fun bet of the evening here. So Court McGee sub at 12-1, Paul Craig sub at 7-1 is the fun parlay bet. So all right, that's all the fights, guys. That's the breakdown. Like I said before, check us out, runpuresports.com. Come be a member. RPS 15 if you want that 15% off. If you want that free week with code JBC 100K win, that's the promo code. Again, a couple of the rules here. You can't be a current member, obviously, and you have to sign up for a monthly package. You have to sign up for a month, and you'll get that free week with it, okay? So use that code if you want that free week, JBC 100K win, and come hang out with us. Make sure you get in the Discord if you do join, and come talk some sports, all the sports. We got sports going on, MMA today, NASCAR all throughout the weekend, baseball, like Dan said, locks at 4 for the big slate today. NBA finals still going on. We've had shows for that. We'll have a show, I think, on Monday for the next game. So everything you want, we got it over at runpuresports.com. Come hang out with us. That's going to do it. We'll see you guys next week. For Dan and myself, good luck in your DraftKings, DFS, and bets. We'll see you guys next week. Till then, we're out of here. Peace.